Shannon was right. The next day at practice, Miss Coe was very understanding. Practice was so much fun, I forgot all about Nershan. And Shannon and I were very excited because Miss Coe said we were going to get new team leotards. After practice, we were waiting for the activity bus, talking about the kind of leotards we wanted, when two guys from the wrestling team joined us. One was David Pfeiffer, a guy who Shannon talked about all the time. She always said he was so cute, that he was awesome and incredible and things like that. She was often laughing and talking to him after our practice, and I think she really liked him. And today he was with Daniel Klein. "Hey Maya, how was practice?" "Hi." I smiled at Daniel, but then I glanced away, pretending to look for the bus, because talking to guys outside class always made me feel embarrassed and shy. The guys came right up to us. David smiled at Shannon. "Wrestling practice was great. We worked on takedowns and escapes, and then lifted weights. How was your practice?" "Fun. We spent most of it on the beam." "I am still pumped from weight training." David grinned and picked up a metal trash can by the gym door. He paraded around with the can, then set it down with a bang right next to Shannon. Everyone was laughing, and then David bent his knees and bounced up and down on his heels and said, "Check this out, Daniel. Am I strong or what?" The next thing we knew, David had one arm under Shannon's knees and one arm under her back, and he scooped her up. Shannon squealed and laughed, and I was laughing watching them, when all of a sudden Daniel scooped me up too. "Short!" I shouted as he lifted me. I grabbed him around his neck to hang on, and my head was squished against his shoulder. He strutted around in a circle before he let me down. I could feel that my face was the color of borscht, and I flamed with excitement and embarrassment, and couldn't stop laughing from both joy and nervousness. "That's nothing, man." David crouched like a weightlifter while he was still holding Shannon and lifted her as high as his shoulders. It was exciting and crazy. Daniel and David showing each other how strong they were, first picking up Shannon and me, then putting us down, then picking us up and lifting us higher, as if Shannon and I were weights. After a few times, whenever Daniel picked me up, I was easily putting my arms around his neck, and I loved being his pretend weight, even though Shannon and I were both yelling for them to put us down. We didn't really mean it. Shannon is a strong girl, and if she didn't like being lifted up and held by David, there was no way it would be happening. I couldn't believe it, but I began to relax in Daniel's arms, and I laughed each time as he slowly turned in a circle. Then Shannon and I tried to pick them up, and it was hilarious. Every time we tried to grab them, they did wrestling moves on us, and we ended up on the grass in a big heap, like a litter of playful puppies. I couldn't remember a time in my life that had been so fun and so exciting. We lay on the grass laughing, and then David and Daniel jumped up and picked Shannon and me up again. But this time when we turned, as my face was pressed against Daniel's shoulder, I saw something coming toward the school that made me tremble with fear. "Daniel, please, put me down." My voice cracked as my breath caught in my throat. But Daniel didn't hear. Everyone was shouting and laughing, and he lifted me up even more as the lime green cab came to a halt in front of the school. The door slammed. Papa stood like a huge bull in his dark leather jacket and flung open the back door of the cab. "Maya Alazova!" His voice roared across the parking lot. He pointed at me the way one might identify a criminal. "Edi suda!" he shouted in Russian. "Come here!" Daniel dropped me, and I ran to the cab, whimpering and trampling inside like a dog caught stealing a chicken. Papa didn't speak. His silence filled every corner of the cab like a dark cloud, slowly suffocating me with its poisonous rage. Papa's neck was deep red, and the skin on the back of my hands tingled with fear. I lay my head back against the seat and closed my eyes, squeezing them shut, and took myself far away until I was safe on the bars at a beautiful gymnastics meet in the sky. I swung back and forth higher and higher, and then I released and flew to the next bar through fluffy white clouds as soft as goose feathers, while the air around me was sweet and warm and my teammates cheered for me, their voices filled with love. We screeched to a stop in front of our building. My head slammed back against the seat. When I struggled from the taxi, it was as though I had fallen from the bars, crashing down onto the street, where I splintered into a million pieces. And as hard as I tried, I couldn't get back on the bars any more than I could stop the hot tears that spilled from my eyes. Papa roared in front of me, and as he charged toward the door in his glistening dark leather jacket, he again seemed transformed to a creature that was half man and half bull. "Gulnara!" He flung open the door, shouting for Mama, his voice filled with anger and blame. "Why are you here? What has happened, Aybek?" Mama came from the kitchen as Nurshan darted to the doorway and peeked around like a little squirrel. I closed the front door and leaned against it with my wet palms flat against the wood, like a prisoner about to be shot. "Is this how you raise your daughter? Is this what you teach her? Lessons to be a toy for American boys?" Papa spat out the words. The color rose in Mama's face like a flame turned up on the stove, and she spun toward me, her eyes flashing. "What have you done?" "Your daughter was in the arms of an American boy." Mama looked shocked. "When? How can this be?" she stammered. "Outside the school, as I drove by, I found them at this. Don't you teach her anything?" "Who let her stay after school? Who gives permission for all these things? You are the one, Aybek. If you left it to me, she would come home every day. She would not have this permission." Mama and Papa didn't notice that I went to the bathroom and locked the door. I huddled by the sink and heard their angry voices rise and fall like the pounding of thunder. And then I heard a bang, so fierce that the light bulb hanging from the ceiling swayed with its force. Papa slamming the front door. Then I heard the engine of the cab and a sharp squeal of tires as he sped away. I imagined running away. I would run like the wind, behind the mini-mart, sailing past the easy dry cleaner, past the bus stop, in an easy gallop through the crosswalk. As I ran, each traffic light I came to would turn green, until there would be a string of green lights glowing like a necklace of emeralds strung all down the street. And then I would be at the Lou's house. Mrs. Lou would greet me in her red Nordstrom coat with the gold buttons. She would hug me and hold me close. Then Mr. Lou would say, "Hi, honey," and make hamburgers. "Want to use the phone, Maya?" Mrs. Lou would say. "Talk as long as you want. We have an extra line for the kids." "Oh, by the way," Mr. Lou would say, "Shannon is having David and some other kids over Friday night for pizza and videos. It's fine if there's a guy you want to invite too." "Maya, open this door. Do you want more trouble?" Mama rattled the doorknob so hard I thought she'd rip it off. "I'm coming." My voice got in my throat. I felt dizzy as I unlocked the door and held my stomach, afraid I would be sick. "You have brought shame to your father and to this family," Mama glared at me. "Mama, it was just kids joking. Guys from the wrestling team pretending some of us were weights." "I don't know this weights." "It was nothing, Mama." "Do not tell me nothing when your father saw you," she screamed. The next morning, Papa was gone when I woke up. And even though Mama hadn't yet left for work, it was like she was gone too. She didn't speak to me, and didn't even look at me, except once when she came in the kitchen. I was getting kasha, and she stared at me like I was a stranger to her. Then she turned and left. Not only was Mama not speaking to me, but she didn't speak to Nurshan either. This never happens. Even when he was punished for the fight with Ase Nishizono and had to stay home, Mama still spoke to him. But as I was getting dressed in my room, I heard Nurshan try to talk to her. I put my ear to the door to listen. "It's different here, Mama. I'm sure Maya and those guys were playing, joking, like in a game." "Quiet, boy. You know nothing of these things." I was shocked. Mama hardly ever says a harsh word to her precious boy. Then I heard her rush by, and then BAM! The door slammed. The kamcha that hung by the door trembled with the force. We brought our kamcha when we came to America. It looks like a riding crop with a carved wooden handle and a leather cord, decorated with some horsehair. It's an old Kazakh tradition to put the kamcha inside the house next to the door because it's believed to bring good fortune and happiness. But our kamcha is not bringing us good fortune today. Mama left without a word of goodbye to either one of us.